Hello, and welcome to the ISO Standards Short Series for Facility Management. My name is Jim Whittaker, and I'll be presenting this session. As a quick background and why I'm presenting today, I'm a member of IFMA's Global Standards Committee. I'm a past chair of the U.S. Technical Advisory Group to the ISO Facility Management Technical Committee, and I was the convener for ISO 41001, the Facility Management Systems Standard. In part two of this series, we'll look at ISO 41001, an enabling set of FM standards. In this session, I'll cover the following topics. First, I'll do a little bit of an intro into ISO as an organization, its structure, bodies, committees, standards, and benefits. Then introduce ISO TC 267, which is the Facility Management Standards Committee, and its people involved in creating these consensus standards. Finally, I'll step through a bit of a high level look at the 267 work groups for the FM standards. We'll look at facility management functions and standards, development work streams, inclusive of things like context and concepts, finance and management, human factors and experience, data, technology, resilience, performance measurement and improvement, leadership, and sustainability. But first, let's take a little bit of a look at ISO itself as an organization. ISO standards were created to make a positive contribution to the world we live in. They facilitate trade, they spread knowledge, disseminate innovation and advances in technology, and share good management practices and conformity assessment practices across the globe. ISO standards provide solutions to achieve benefits for almost all sectors of activity, including agriculture, construction, engineering, manufacturing, transportation, medical, on, and facility management. ISO really focuses on developing standards for which there's a clear market requirement. The work is carried out by individual experts in the subject, drawn directly from technical business sectors that they've been identified to meet the needs of that specific standard. The organization, which is known as ISO today, standing for the International Organization for Standardization. Even the name of the organization is standardized. You may be wondering why ISO if it's iOS. It's not an acronym, but was derived from the Greek word isos, meaning equal. And the relation to the standards, and I find interesting in the intent, is that if two objects meet the same standard, they should be equal. So ISO is not an acronym for the organization, but for that ISOs meaning equal, in creating standardization so we can be consistent and equal across the globe. ISO's mission is to develop high quality, voluntary international consensus standards that facilitate the international exchange of goods and services, support sustainable and equitable economic growth, promote innovation, and protect health and safety in the environment. Today, ISO has a membership of 163 or more national standards bodies, sometimes referred to as mirror committees, from countries large and small, industrialized, developing, transitioning, in all regions of the world. The ISO portfolio of over 24,000 standards provide business, government, society with practical tools in all the dimensions of sustainable development, economic, environmental, and social issues. ISO is a voluntary organization. The members are recognized standards, authorities, and individuals representing countries in the mirror committees. The bulk of the work on ISO standards is done by 3,800 plus technical bodies, and headed up by secretariat from one of the organizations. The American National Standards Institute, ANSI, is the United States representative to ISO. ISO standards ensure that products and services are safe, reliable, and of good quality. They are strategic tools that we use to reduce costs by minimizing waste and errors and increasing productivity in the delivery of services. They help most companies to access new markets, level the playing field for developing countries, and facilitate free trade and fair global trade. The ISO Technical Committee 267, I may refer to 267 throughout this session, is the technical committee for facility management that creates the series of ISO standards that we'll look through today. There are 51 participating and observing countries in the development of the ISO standards and the ISO TC. All participate again with individual technical experts in various working groups that gain consensus within each national standards body or merit committee, and then roll through stages of drafts, working drafts, committee drafts, final draft international standards before publishing, gaining consensus, and voting along the way. Participating countries get a single vote per country. Observing countries can participate in the development of the standards, but don't have a vote. Typical standards development for technical or management system standards may run 18 to 36 months, up to 3 years. It's a very rigorous process to develop those standards. And it takes commitment from incredible experts from around the globe. Here's a little bit of a look of some of those working experts from all over the globe. It's a very rewarding experience. Typically a couple plenary sessions a year and many working draft and virtual committees. But the opportunity to work with experts from all over the world to share ideas, share best practices, get different perspectives on facility management service delivery is extremely rewarding, as well as establishing lifelong bonds and friendships across the globe. Many of us stay in touch across the years. Share a little bit now of what the activity in the EC 267 committee has. There are advisory groups and communication groups across the top of this slide in this matrix in blue are basically FM functional areas or work streams that form working groups across the technical committee. Down the left-hand side in gray are elements of the management system standard and the structure of model, understanding concepts in the context of organization, looking at leadership and strategy, and into planning and support, operations and performance and improvement. Most of the ISO standards, specifically the management system standards, follow that same organizational structure. Then within this matrix, you'll see standards that have been published in green, standards that are in progress in yellow, and those that may be proposed. So I'll touch on each of these functional areas. But first, I want to start with a couple of key definitions. Core to the business is defining FM. And we refer to FM being either facility or facilities management. ISO standards are relevant for small to large organizations across every region, every industry vertical. And we have to consider the consensus development of the standards. And again, taking into consideration different ways of working across the globe. So the step number one was to define FM as an organizational function that integrates people, place, and process within the built environment with the purpose of improving the quality of life of people and the productivity of the core business. And the core business, again, is important to understand that this can be anything from a manufacturing entity, technology business, data centers, healthcare or life sciences, public institutions, government agencies, educational facilities, corporate, or even transportation. Each of these vertical industries has a core and very different business mission. This leads to the second definition of demand organization. And you will see this throughout the ISO standards, specifically the management system standard, where we need to define the client organization or the customer, the ultimate end user, and maybe the basically the core business, the CEO, CFO, strategic leaders of healthcare or a life sciences corporation or organization compared to the facility management organization. So we refer to that core business activity and organization as the demand organization. And this is the entity which has a need and the authority to incur costs to have requirements met. So, from an FM perspective, if you look at a healthcare organization with hospital or possibly satellite healthcare facilities, or educational facilities with a president or provost of a university, that is the demand organization with financial administrative offices. And the FM organization meets the need of driving facilities that help those unique entities achieve service provision. So again, we're looking at the FM organization as the organization and the demand organization as the core business. Again, to understand the variations in service provision, whether it's internal or external, large or small across the globe. So as we get into some of those areas in the matrix, I just want to very quickly go through some of the published and in progress standards, give an idea of the breadth and depth of the work in the ISO technical committee. The first two TC 267 FM Standards Technical Committee were published in 2017. A third later that year was ISO 41012. But the first two, ISO 41011, defined FM vocabulary. Again, this is defining a common global language. There was also a technical report published on the FM scope, key concepts, and benefits. This really provided the context of what is FM, the opportunities for outcomes that have a positive impact in supporting the mission and improving the quality of people and the productivity of that core business. And the FM scope is extremely broad these days. We look at everything from core real estate functions, FM, transaction management, leasing administration, engineering and asset management, experiential elements, sustainability. And as we get into detailed scoping items, operations, it's everything from contracting or provision of cleaning and security, moves, adds, changes, projects, occupancy management, and today, dynamic occupancy management, as well as financial and cost management events and continue. So the technical report and vocabulary really set the foundation for understanding FM's scope and a consistent vocabulary. Next is the area of finance and management. As I mentioned, again, this is where we touched on the next standard that was published, which was ISO 41012. Which provides guidance on strategic sourcing and the development of agreements. There will be a deeper dive series specifically related to 41012, but it also includes other standards that have been published, 41014, which is development of FM strategy, and 41018, the development of FM policy. 41012 really provides that framework for creating agreements for service provision, whether it's internal service provision or external outsourcing. The FM strategy document helps users understand the demand organization, the structure, the governance, the context, What is the market of the organization, the strategy, core activities, and risk tolerances? Then looking at developing FM requirements, current, future state, maturity, and competence. Finally, formulating a strategy, managing performance, and improving outcomes. Again, that can be aligned and input into the guidance of development of agreements. There's work ongoing in human factors and experience. Just recently published 41,015 standard looks at influencing organizational behaviors for improved facility outcomes. This is really all about delivering and supporting and improving facilities and facility services to meet the demand organization needs and aspirations of internal and external stakeholders. Uh, it's about user experience, wellness. It's about influencing organizational behaviors. ISO 41,015 looks at a deeper dive into the context of the organization, how we influence behaviors, looking at change, value drivers, planning for change, looking at change management and change control, aligning FM actions into strategic outcomes. And then again, from an experience and influential standpoint, looking at performance evaluation, both qualitative and quantitative, and how we look at continued improvement. The next area is in a very deep emphasis on the digitization of FM today, looking at data and technology. In my experience as an FM practitioner today, it's all about data, data, data. Organizations, core businesses are looking for insights. They're looking for data to provide performance enhancements and information to make better decisions about investments in facilities. Having the right supporting technology to drive those. This requires data topology that looks at aligning outcomes with key performance indicators, KPIs, metrics, and the data inputs to be able to capture those measures. And how do we effectively utilize a wide, diverse array of new technologies, from smart building platforms to IoT sensors to even generative AI and other business intelligence dashboards across the life cycle to drive business strategies? The next area is in resilience and business continuity. Today in progress is ISO 41017 that looks at guidance on emergency preparedness and the management of epidemics. Again, quite relevant with the recent pandemic, COVID, and responding to meeting the needs of a demand organization in this new world where there are not only natural disasters, but pandemics, the need to manage emergencies, crisis management, and disaster response. It looks at emergency preparedness. What are the threats and vulnerabilities? Impacts analysis, how we look at testing plans and response and recovery. Again, critical to today's way of work. I've touched a lot on performance measurement and improvement, and just about all of the ISO standards, we look at those elements because we have to measure our success. ISO Technical Report 41030 looks at existing performance management in the FM organizations and state of the industry. This was developed to provide operational performance measurement frameworks and requirements to influence positive outcomes of the design on people, place, and processes in FM, including requirements and guidance for measuring, monitoring, and improving the FM performance. It's about outcomes-based performance measurement. As FMs, we need to deliver healthy, safe, secure, reliable, resilient facilities that are fully compliant. We need to protect our asset values. We need to operate our facilities effectively and efficiently, as well as driving new workplace experience initiatives and sustainable goals. but also to have those KPIs and metrics. And again, that data topology and inputs to drive those service level agreements or the level of service and how we measure that performance. Next, we look at leadership and innovation. And this, again, is embraced in a number of standards, but key to it is the ISO 41001 FM management systems standard and providing guidance on how to develop a highly effective FM organization and function, demonstrating leadership and influencing change, and a robust systems approach to be able to do that. Again, understanding the context of your organization, getting leadership commitment, planning, identifying resources, effectively operating and executing, and again, measuring performance, managing change, and continuously improving. There are similar management system standards many may be familiar with, including ISO 9001 quality management system, 14,000 and others around health and safety and environmental systems. ISO Technical Committee for Facility Management has each of those and aligns with those key elements. Next, there's a look at in-progress guidance on commissioning and maintenance management, looking at the built environment and life cycle of facilities. Again, core to success in FM delivery is taking a end-to-end, a life cycle management approach, cradle to burial, from design and construction of facilities through operations and maintenance, renewal, and eventual disposal, providing guidance on how to optimally manage operations and maintenance and renewal through that end of life, looking at reliability center maintenance programs, capital asset renewal, and capital planning, forecast, integrate all those with the right data and data governance. Finally, we look at sustainability and stewardship. This is about ESG goals, environmental, social, governance, and sustainable development goals, things like net zero carbon. Again, key to priorities in most FM organizations today. How do we provide guidance on effectively managing the built environment that we can measure, monitor, and optimize to ensure we're achieving the demand organization's sustainable goals for the future? And again, this looks at 13 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goal categories listed here on how to systematically achieve these objectives. So this brings us to the end of this session on ISO 41000 series and enabling set of FM standards. I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions regarding any of the ISO 41000 series standards or content, you would like more information about any of the specific standards, or have an interest in getting involved with ISO, please reach out to IFMA support via the website or email, and be sure to reference the ISO Standards Series short. Thank you.